Welcome to GSI, Garden Scenes Investigation. Behind me, our victim is Jujube, Li Jujube, and he was viciously attacked by some kind of monster. We're going to figure out who. We've got here our Li Jujube off the top of my head. I think I've got some information down here. It's being very much covered. And this was covered in new shoots. It was looking really, really good. And it's never been bothered by the wildlife before. However, I came up the other day and it had been decimated. Now, it has put on a couple of new leaves, which is good. However, even the top of this plant has been pretty viciously attacked and it has been torn off almost all the way. I think what it might be worth me doing is just trimming it off there and seeing if I can perhaps grow that shoot, because I'm pretty sure this tree was actually grown from a shoot, from what I understand. I could be wrong on that one. It looks like it could be a grafting there. But I'm actually not 100% sure. I'll have to check with the fruit tree fella next time I drop in. But regardless of that, obviously we had a pretty serious issue here with our jujube being knocked right back. Now it's not dead by any means, and I think it might even have flowers on it, which is quite cool to see. But this is a pretty big kind of whack to the progress of this tree because it's lost all of its nice foliage and it's going to take time to recover. Luckily we're in spring, we've just had some really nice rain, which is great. And the big thing we need to do is make sure this doesn't happen again. And so trees that get targeted a lot, once the wallabies realize that they're nice and tasty, we do have to put a fence around them. And I've got another video up on kind of doing the fencing side of things, or the tree surrounds, I guess you'd almost call them. And yeah, we're just going to put it in place here. I'm going to use that picket to make sure it doesn't go anywhere, because that is important as well. We're on a bit of an incline, which always adds to the kind of the challenge. And that actually, the tree surround I've done is probably too big. We've got a little white stake just there, which are some really interesting kind of like plastic stakes that I'd say have probably been repurposed from some other use, and they're like a picket but plastic. And I got to be honest, if I could figure out where to get that kind of material, obviously plastic is not as environmental as metal. However, if they were cheap, there'd be some good uses for them, mainly in the garden. We've got our stake in the ground that is going to just basically prevent this cage from rolling down the hill if we get a bit of wind and a bit of grass and stuff grows through it and it becomes a bit of a sail, but it really shouldn't be an issue. I'm actually really happy with how this cage came out. It's larger than most of the square mesh cages I make, and it's holding up quite well, which is no doubt because I've doubled up on a section about 15 centimeters wide just here, which gives it a fair bit more strength. I can't get this much further into the ground just because it's very, very rocky where we are, but I think it'll do the job. And if not, we might have to replace it with something else. But for the moment, our jujube should be protected, and I just need to keep a close eye on it, because even if we have a look, there are sections where obviously flowers have been bitten off as well, which is frustrating, but you're always going to have setbacks. And I mean, one of the things is a lot of stuff has cages around it here, and I think that's going to be something that we have to keep an eye on long term, because the wallabies probably will enjoy having a nibble on even the bark of some of our nicer fruit trees. But by taking care of them, it's a long-term investment. I would probably say that this is maybe it's definitely bigger than a meter. So the cost of this particular cage is probably, it could be 20 bucks, 15, 20 bucks, which is expensive. And I think this is one of those things that you might not realize if you've not really had to do this kind of stuff. But if you're paying between $7 and $10 a stake or a picket, and then you're paying between 10 and, I mean, even between $5 and $10 and $15 or $20 for this kind of surround, a little fence to put around your trees, everything adds up. And it can be quite surprising just how much money you're spending on stuff. And that really niggles into all the other budgets, which can be a problem too. But for the moment, we've protected our tree. It should grow back really, really well. I'm a little bit reticent to give it a big fertilizer because I've heard that that's not always the best for jujubes. So we'll leave it as it is. I've put heaps and heaps of mulch around it. We've got a new rain barrel which collects 200 litres of water, and in the first big downpour it's full, which means I'll be able to water our jujube and our citrus in this area when it gets dry again. So that's great. Obviously 200 litres isn't going to go super far, but it will just tide us over a little bit. So that's great as well. And we've got another job done.